Alright guys, today's video is going to be pretty short and sweet. We're talking about multiplying and dividing scientific notation. So, building on what we learned yesterday about writing numbers in scientific notation, today we're actually multiplying and dividing those numbers. Alright? Looking at a problem like this, first of all, think to yourself, when would we ever have to use something like this? Well, in your daily lives you might not be working with numbers this big most of the time. But thinking about things like scientists, astronomers, people generally who work with science might be dealing with really big or really small numbers. If you're talking about distance of planets or like the speed of light, or that would be on the large end of numbers, and then on the really small end of numbers, if you're talking about like the size of bacteria or I don't know, things like that. But that's when you might use situations like this. So this first example that we're looking at, it says 2.06 times 10 to the fifth power times 4.7 times 10 to the third. It's actually pretty simple how we're going to end up dealing with this problem. Okay? First, you're going to multiply together these first numbers. Okay? We're going to ignore the powers of 10 for right now. Just ignore them. We're going to go ahead and multiply together 2.06 times 4.7. Okay? And this can also be kind of a quick refresher on how to multiply decimals if we've forgotten how to do that. Alright? Remember, you do not line up the decimals in multiplication. You just line up everything to the far right and start multiplying. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 7 times 2 is 14. Go ahead and drop a 0. Get rid of that 7. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. We need to add it all up. That's 2, 8, 6, 9. And remember how it works. However many numbers are behind the decimal in the question, that's how many have to be behind the decimal in the answer. We've got 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal, so we need 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. 9.682. Okay, now that's just the first part. That was taking care of these front numbers. Okay? But what about these second numbers? Well, that's just as easy. Okay? Just like we multiplied these together, we're going to go ahead and multiply the powers of 10 together too. So we've got 10 to the fifth times 10 to the third. Well, you guys remember that when we have the same base, 10 to the fifth times 10 to the third, when we have the same base and different exponents, and they're being multiplied together, all we have to do is add those exponents up. So 5 plus 3 is 8, so we've got 10 to the 8th. So our final answer, we're going to combine these two numbers, and we're going to say our final answer is 9.682 times 10 to the 8th. And that's it. That's the final answer. Okay? Easy. Alright. Let's talk about division. Division actually works exactly the same way. If you have this example here, 4.08 times 10 to the negative 7 divided by 2 times 10 to the 4th. Same exact thing. First, we're going to divide these front numbers. 4.08 divided by 2. Remember, dividing decimals. If this number does not have a decimal in it, and this number does, you just bring that decimal straight up into the answer and divide. 2 goes into 4 2 times. Drop down our 0. 2 goes into 0 0 times. And 2 goes into 8. Whoops, brought that 8 down. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And there we have it. There's the first part of our answer. 2.04 is going to be the front part. Okay? Just like before, now we need to divide the powers of 10. We've got 10 to the negative 7 divided by 10 to the 4th. Remember, when we are dividing and the bases are the same, we're subtracting the exponents instead of adding them. So negative 7 minus 4 ends up equaling negative 11. So we've got 10 to the negative 11th. Okay? Finally, we just combine the two. 2.04 times 10 to the negative 11th. There is our answer. Okay. Now there's just one final thing I need to make sure you guys are aware of. Occasionally, during this process, and it could be multiplication or division, occasionally you'll get a final answer that looks something like this. Maybe 32.7 times 10 to the 4th. Okay? And this is what you'll get after you multiply the front numbers and then you multiply the exponents. This is what you got. This cannot be our final answer. Why? Look at this front number. Is this between 1 and 10? Absolutely not. It's 32. Okay, so sometimes this will happen, and all you have to do is go ahead and move that decimal one spot over. Instead of 32, make it 3.27. And if you move that decimal one spot over, then you have to raise the power by 1. Okay, so if this is what you got the first time, 32.7 times 10 to the 4th, you've got to change it to 3.27 times 10 to the 5th. Okay, because this front number has got to be between 1 and 10. Same thing if you got a small number. Let's say you got 0.45 times 10 to the 3rd, something like that. Well, we can't leave it as 0.45. That's less than 1. This has got to be between 1 and 10. So we're going to move that decimal once, 4.5. And since we made this number bigger, we took it from 0.45 to 4.5, we've got to make this number smaller. They've got to go in opposite directions. So this one got bigger, this one's got to get smaller and go from 3, drop down to 2. All right? That is the whole lesson. Good luck if you didn't finish your homework in class, and I'll see you tomorrow.